everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Sanu, we can hear you.
Yes, Anu.
All right, and hi to the audience as well who are here to listen to these amazing women I'm with today. So, I am Anu Chaudhary, and I have been working in climate action and corporate sustainability (ESG) space since 20 years. And for the last 5 years, I have been running my firm called Sustain Plus. We provide consulting and advisory in the same space. And I am with these amazing power women today who have had some very unique career choices and career paths, some very interesting experiences they've had, and they have um, made their mark in their fields. So it would be lovely to hear from them. Was it all planned, or was it destiny, or was it a bit of both? Uh, and what is it that you would probably like to share with someone, perhaps in a similar journey as yourself? Without wasting any time, let's move to Anisha. Anisha, sometimes things just happen to you, right? You may not have planned it, and you may end up with a career, and you don't really know whether it is the right choice for you. And somewhere, along the path, you may realize that you probably wanted to do something else, or you're better at something else. How do you handle a situation like that?
First of all, thank you, Anu. It's a pleasure and privilege to be here and to be part of this amazing community. And I really was looking forward to this first public forum. It's always been a closed group, and this is the first time we are in an open platform. So it's my honor to be here. And you began with a question, which is actually a question of my life, and I just want to tell you that mine has been a career of chance and not of choice. And the famous quote by John Gumbolz, the happenstance theory. If anybody has lived that theory, it's me. I got my first job at my wedding reception. I was a small town girl, but I did my MBA. I got married in a large city, and my husband's boss, who came to my wedding reception, uh, my husband was in LML, and they were running a small time in-house agency called Srishti Advertising. And he said, I think you're a smart girl. This is happening at my wedding reception. I think you're a smart girl. You've done your MBA, and I'm sure you'll find something more exciting to do. But till such time as you find something interesting and exciting to do, I run a in-house agency for LML. It will be convenient. You and your husband can come together because it's in the same premises. So I'm giving you an open job offer. Come and work for me in my ad agency. Okay, and that's how I started my career. I got into advertising by chance. It just so happened I discovered that that's something that I loved doing. I don't know if I discovered it, or in hindsight now, it just all falls together. And from there, I spent 14 years in advertising, gave it my best, got into, heading an agency, and unsettled myself. And I said, I've got my success in advertising, and now let me do something else. And then I went to the corporate side. I was fortunate. I got a break into as director marketing at General Motors, and then at Max. And then, wanting to do something of your own, been there, done that, part of the corporate world for 30 years. And, let me now try a hand at being my own boss. So when I look at this, and I'm very happy with the choices I have made, what comes to my mind is that it's very important to accept that this career of choice is a big, big fallacy that most women live with. When we start our careers, that's one thing that I really want to say. It's such a fallacy. For me, it's a choice, and with each choice comes an opportunity. And it all depends on how you look at that choice. Okay. Many people want to make their talents as their careers. Have a career that emanates from their talents. And believe you me, I'm telling you, 99% people, the talent does not give you a livable income. And that's a very elitist thought. So let's park our talents and our passions aside. There comes a stage in life when you can afford to make your talent your career or whatever. But when you are starting off, there are several other things that determine your career choices. It's your circumstances. For many people, it is money that drives professional choices. So this fallacy we must forget, that we are going to get a career choice. The second most important thing for me is that a career is not a linear path. Okay, that we've started off and there'll be no twists and turns, and the first decision we take is the last decision we take. There is enough and more opportunities in our professional lives for us to make those twists and turns. Those twists and turns can sound very chaotic, they can be very painful, they can make you extremely uncomfortable. But if you've taken those twists and turns, those are the ones that give you the best experiences and the best learnings of your life. From an advertising to an auto manufacturing industry to a financial services industry, and then to be able to give it all up right at the top. Okay. To somebody else it might just sound like a crazy decision, uh, but I always thought that when you get those inner signals, when you've had your fill and you really do want to make and make that twist or that turn or that change, that inner intuition is only yours, nobody else can give it to you. Okay, but that has to come for the right set of reasons. It can't come for I'm making a change because that offers me a higher level. Okay, most people think that they can job hop their way to the top and get a good, great professional career of choice. So you can never, job hop your way to your destination. It's always just your experiences. And the second thing is that whichever choice I made, whichever industry I went to, you have to give it your 100%. You have to just go all out and give it all that you have, because what you're getting out of it is only yours. You're not giving it to anybody else. The organization that benefits for me is a collateral benefit. First of all, I'm benefiting myself. If I look at it with that lens, that I am what I'm giving to my job is feeding back into me professionally, into enriching me, into nourishing me. Okay, and if you're that
Very
passionate
well
about what
said.
you do, then that's what is actually going to get you, despite the twists and turns, is going to get you to where you really want to be. And there are some people it's okay to not get to eventually. I still don't know where I want to get. Sometimes I just wonder, I do purpose workshops, and and it's a very dynamic thing. When my children were young, and I was at a different life stage, my priorities were very different, and I did make those adjustments. But today,
Very true,
grown up
Anisha.
children, yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
free woman and I
I
have a
mean,
choice of
it's amazing, and I mean, I really like that. So yeah, well, brides have another reason now to behave well during their
life.
weddings. You could even get a job offer. I mean, that's just amazing. What a story. So thanks for sharing that with us, Anisha. We will come back to you to hear more about your journey. I would want to ask Deeksha if that's okay. What do you think? How does one plan for their career growth? Is it titles? Is it the breadth of experience? Is it future potential? I mean, there are so many variables there, right? I mean, what is it that you think is the biggest factor?
Thanks, Anu. And I must say that I could go hours on this topic, but I think I have a few minutes, so I'm going to try and keep it crisp. I think the non-glamorous answer here is that it's a tough one to decide. And I'll maybe what I'm going to do here is I'm going to quote something I came across, which is that when you're 80 years old and looking at your life journey, the story that's going to be most compelling is the series of choices that you made. And what a lot of us end up doing is that we give this power of choice to someone else. But what I would urge my listeners, and I think what I've heard a lot from people as I chat with them, and I've tried to emulate in my own life, is try and see if I can keep that power with myself. That, when life presents choices of future potential, sometimes opportunities come your way which can create a lot more future potential versus, let's say, a title. Or sometimes, you want to have the breadth of experience because that will make you a more rounded and a better human being versus an immediate growth, which will look like very good for the next 1 or 2 years. There can be different choices that people can take. I think what we should look at is evaluate that decision not only for the immediate term, but also when we were to look back, as that saying goes, when we're old and maybe 8 years of life spent, how would we reflect on it? And so long as we're peaceful and happy with that choice, go ahead and make it. And I think, like Anisha said, give it our very best once we've taken that decision. I think what I've seen works, and I try and crystallize that in just 3 points. Tough to do though. One is that when you're looking in terms of this career planning, it's a tough one. I think in some ways it's an oxymoron, but when you try and pull this off, think of both, like I said, the medium term and the medium and long term, or what really gives you joy and purpose. The second one I would say is keep learning all the time. I think the most successful leaders I've come across haven't waited for titles or roles to demonstrate the leadership, to learn new skills. They've often done it beforehand, and that also in a way gives a sense of readiness, if you may, and a signal to the universe that you're ready to do this. And I think the third one, which oftentimes I feel we did, more of consciously, is just have a little bit more fun along the way, because at the end of the day, we end up spending so many hours at work. If you're having fun, you're enjoying yourself, I think it'll just flow. So the career will connect the dots, and the planning also will happen, but the journey is very important. I'll pause here, Anu, and give it back to you.
Thank you so much, Diksha. I completely agree with that and resonate with all of what you just said. I have myself had that experience where I wasn't sure whether this career that I was choosing would get me success or would get me money, but I did know that I loved it. And what you said about constantly upgrading yourself, learning, that's so important. I Of course I had the right background for the career I am in, but I think what really helped me was this constantly upgrading myself, learning, and especially being in the field that I'm in. Sustainability is a very dynamic field. I mean, that has really helped me, and very important indeed. Eka, tell me, how does one find their own purpose, passion, and peace? And you're all about passion and peace, through ACOM. So tell us, is there a time or stage in life also when that happens, or?
So the interesting thing is that you really, really have to work hard at it. It doesn't come by chance. It doesn't come by default. It comes by very deliberate design. And the more and that's probably the easier answer. The more difficult answer is that you have to take responsibility for it. And I'm going to share with you three things that I learned across my journey, right? So, I've been a banker for the longest time, and a global banker at that. So, across Singapore and across Sri Lanka, India, Thailand, UK, etc. And then there was the second career, which was when I re-educated myself, went back, reskilled myself to what Anisha was talking about, what Diksha was talking about. So the second part of the career was embracing yourself. The first part was dark ages, and which is what all of us live through. Decide that we are going to live the cool. We're going to be cool. We're going to earn respect. I'm going to do everything that makes me look cool. So banking made me look very cool. MBA made me look even cooler, even though I had wanted to study science. So the first part of our careers is that phase of our careers where we do things to earn financial security, get our earn our pips and ranks, grow up in the corporate hierarchy, and मैं दुनिया बदल के रख दूंगा, मतलब वाला जो एक stage होता है. That's usually our first stage. That's also our most unhappiest stage. It's a stage usually that we all go through, which is of anger and resentment, and everything is wrong with the world, and the industry is wrong, and there's gender discrimination, and there are old boys clubs. All of those things happen. All the while in your mind, you're basically chasing that, AVP to VP to EVP to SVP, the next grade, the classic Hindu rate of growth. And that's usually a very angry, dark phase. Now, if you really have to take control of your career, it is to step out of that phase, which is why I'm saying that it's a tough choice. It's a choice by design. If you don't make that choice, you could continue your career in mediocrity forever. Like Anisha said, that if you have to make it to the top in any field, it doesn't matter what field it is, you really have to want it with all of yourself. You really have to have the talent for it with all of yourself. And then you have to commit to it 100%. So there comes that stage where you can't make it to the top of the field because you kept earning your stars and stripes and chasing the next grade and the next role and trying to look cool and get on, business magazines and covers. So the second phase for me actually happened about 12 years ago, and 12 years, by the way, was a very long time to live in the dark ages as well. But that's when I reskilled myself, and I realized that I was uh, getting my ranks in the banking world, but I wasn't happy from within. That realization that I was a good banker, not because I was, steeped into banking, but I was a good banker because I was basically a hard worker. I was a good banker basically because I understood people and I listened to them carefully. So the realization that my talent was not banking, my talent was people, my talent was hard work. And therefore, what was the interest and therefore the passion? And then begins that tough journey of taking control of your career decision. Say, what do you really want to do? And how are you committed to it? So, which is when I stepped out of the banking world and when I decided that I was going to take charge of my career. And that's when I started, reskilling, got into the human industry, certified myself as a coach, got myself certified in psychology, in neurosciences, anthropology. That's when you really start doing this for your own self. There's no external conversation. Like Disha said, it has to come from within you. So that was the second phase. What's interesting is that in my first phase of chasing the career ladder, I would have certainly not made CEO of any bank, for sure. I kept getting my Hindu rate of growth promotions, but I would have gotten nowhere with it. Interestingly, about 8-10 years ago, when I actually started doing what I wanted to do, वो जो है ना अंदर से जो आग निकल गई थी, which really needed to find its expression and all that the world needed to hear from me. Um, and I reskilled and I started my own company, etc. Within 2 years of that, I actually made the first CEO of my MBA batch, man or woman, because truly, and that's where my faith and my submission and my surrender to the universe comes from. जब हम फिजिक्स में पढ़ते हैं कि जब तक तुम चेस कर रहे हो ना किसी चीज को, you're creating resistance against you. But the moment you are self-contained and doing what you need to do with calm equanimity, pause and silence and peace, you allow the universe to act on you. And in very fancy words, we've heard about this in the context of the karma and Bhagavad Gita. So, karmanyavadikaraste is not detach yourself from the result, which is how it is usually translated as. Karmanyavadikaraste is focus on your actions, focus on your process, and focus and trust that if you put the process and the paces in place, your result will follow. But you need to focus on the here and now, what you need to do. So that was the second thing. Like I said, that allowed me the 6 years of my glorious career that I'm extremely grateful for as the CEO for Future Sharp Skills, which is among India's largest skilling, employability, and livelihoods company. And then about 2 years, 3 years ago, was that whole thing of impact bhi ho gaya. So, I've done my whole journey of being angry, resilient, and what's cool. I've done my second phase, which is about accepting, embracing yourself. तुम क्या करना चाहते हो? एक impact create हो गया. You sort of, as Anisha said, reached the peak of your ladder, your corporate journey. Then began that quest of saying, what is it that I want to gift to the world? And that's how we actually set up ACOM, which is, like I said, the wisdom organization from India for the world. The joy of this is that once you're situated in yourself, and again, there's a very nice yoga term for it called sthit pragna. When you're situated within your own self, that's when you find absolute resonance. That's when you're actually able to punch way above your weight. That's when the whole is greater than sum of parts. So the only submission that I would have to make is that find your own space. Whether it's your passion, whether it's your talent, define your own measure of success. जब तक तुम externally focused रहोगे कि क्या cool लगता है, किसी और को क्या चाहिए, मेरा husband क्या चाहता है, मेरे in-laws क्या चाहते हैं, मेरे पेरेंट्स से मुझे जो एजुकेशन दी है वो कहाँ जानी चाहिए, etc., etc., there will always be some level of friction between your external and outer world. So the place to start is to start yourself with what you really want to do. And by the way, these are not big things. You don't have to start by saying, I'm going to change the world today and set up Google. Google started by organizing information with one search engine at a time. That's what they really wanted to do, organize information. So it's about what you want to do in the here and the now. Somebody comes and tells me कि मुझे एक Michelin star restaurant खोलना है. बहुत अच्छी. बट एटलीस्ट वहां पहुंचने के लिए क्या इस संडे को तुम अपने फैमिली के लिए खाना बना रहे हो दैट यू वांट टू सर्व? So it's not a function of time, it's not a function of energy. Those are all excuses that we hold ourselves on to. If you really want to find yourself, discover, have that conversation with yourself. There's no counterparty in this. There's no counterparty. And my only advice would be aware of your emotions, know where you're operating from. And that is the tough bit because that requires design, that requires responsibility, that requires awareness, that requires conversations with your own self because there is no counterparty. You can't blame anybody else, not your family, not your circumstance, not your education, not your parents, not your organization, not your industry. So those are two things that I want to leave you with. One, build awareness of what you really want to do. Not what's cool, not what will get you money, not what you think will, be exciting and earn you respect, but what you really want to do. Awareness. And the second is take responsibility for it. Then you don't get to blame anybody and anything else. I know that was a slightly longish answer. Sorry, Anu, back to you.
But that was wonderful. Beautifully said, Eka, as always. Uh, Rachna, my next question is to you. How do you plan for your career growth, and what do you think are the enablers that you seek in that journey?
So, Anu, thank you. I was just listening to Eka and Diksha and Anisha previously. I think one thing that I would also start with saying very clearly is find your own alignment first. Because when that alignment happens, everything else happens. So, the two words that I'm borrowing from the previous speakers again is power of choice and your own alignment. Now, once you have made that aligned choice for yourself, it's not a definition of anybody else, it's your own definition of the future that you want to create for yourself. That's your career. Now, whether it's in your personal space, it's in the space of philanthropy, it is in the space of corporate careers, wherever it is, that's your career, right? So that's the starting point, and that's your own choice. Live with it. You are happy with it. Let's move ahead with it. Second piece there is then figure out what are those experiences, that exposure that you need for yourself very, very clearly. Like I was just saying, serve that first dish to your family, right? So it is about figure out what all has to be really done. What are the experiences? It's not about titles. It is not about designations at all. It is not about jobs. It's finally about the relevant experiences and the relevant skills that you need to build up. That's the first thing. Second thing that has worked for me is operate from your place of talent and natural strength. N number of people will tell you, you do not have this, you do not have this, develop this and you get there. My own experiences, you are your brightest, truest self when you are yourself, right? And that nobody can beat, right? That's your space to shine. And therefore, self-awareness, loving yourself, knowing what you know the best, you can do the best, amplify that. And once you have done that, and then leave it to the universe, it happens. The third is be willing to take risks. Go the uncharted territories. Have faith in yourself. Go girl, go, you will get it. And once that is your piece, then I would definitely think that there are others who need to support you. Now, we all have been talking about extended ecosystems from family perspective. I'm not touching that because they've been covered in the previous sections. Very important, specifically if it is to do with corporate careers, self-advocacy is important. Many a times women don't do it. It becomes a dirty word for us. Networking is a dirty word for us. I'm saying don't even network, but please self-advocate. You have in with you. You would hear very few people not really self-advocating in the other gender when we talk about, but for us, it's very, very important. Let's embrace self-advocacy. Take your first foot, amplify yourself, sell yourself, brand yourself from the space of love and compassion to yourself. And the last bit is find your sponsors. We all need sponsors in our life. Now, they could be coming from different industries. They could belong to your own organizations. And I think in the previous section, Deepali was sharing that you need a coach, you need a sponsor. When you say career, you definitely also need a sponsor. So these are some of my life experiences that I have lived. Some I got realization early on. Some I was kind of pushed by many other women like ourselves to say, girl, word is more than what you think, and sometimes take help, and that's fine too. So that's my few pieces of my own learning. Back to you.
Thanks, Rachna. Those were really, really precious words of wisdom. In fact, all of y'all, the experiences you shared, the wisdom you've gained over the years, what you've shared, it resonates so well with me. With I'm sure with all our listeners today, because there is always a bit of everything. There is something that sometimes you think you want, but that may not be the right path for you. So that is another perspective also to consider. And what I have learned in my 20 years is that when you really, really want something, when you really love something, the universe really comes together and makes it happen for you. And that has happened for me too. I mean, when I left my job after 16 years of corporate career and started from scratch, a bootstrapped company, most of the people really thought I had gone crazy, to put it in simple words. And but then, it just so happened there were people, there were things that just started coming together out of nowhere, places from where I least expected it to happen. And it's been such a wonderful journey over the last 5 years. So yeah, great. I would just ask one of you to volunteer and answer this um, rapid fire question for me. um, okay, who do I pick? What would you tell your younger self? Quick, one line answer.
Why don't all three of us take a shot at it? All four of us now that we've
Okay,
done
we
that.
have 2 minutes. So yeah, we have 2 minutes. So yeah, let Anisha, you go first.
I would say don't put an expiry date on your career, an expiry date of marriage, childbirth, board exams, husband's job, and your
Yeah,
career is yours. Don't put an expiry date on it.
absolutely. Eka.
So, like I said, what I would tell my younger self is do things for your own self and be aware of your emotions. If you're angry, if you're hurt, if you're upset, if you're irritated, it's because you're living or trying to live the burden of somebody else's expectations and living an outward script. You will find your space if you are really you.
Absolutely. Diksha.
So I have to tell you this story quickly. When I was 22, I was top of the batch, day zero placement, management consulting firm, and then September 11 happened. So I was jobless, and I was being advised to learn piano lessons while the company was looking to get its back. So literally and figuratively, I would tell my 20-year-old self that take a chill pill, water finds its level, and in the long term, things are going to work out. And I'd even tell that to the batch that's going through COVID right now, and the youngsters who think that these 2 years are so difficult. This too shall pass. So that's what I tell them, that think of the world 5 to 10 years to 20 years from now, and it's all going to work out.
I'm sorry, I'm going to
Wow.
come in for a second just now. So, Diksha and I have actually known each other for what, 22 years? No, we shouldn't talk about that. But I just confess to you, we've often had this conversation that for everything we went through in our B school placements, the stress, people getting jobs, they deserve better jobs, etc. What we really found is that it takes about 10 to 12 years after which everybody finds their optimum place. So, our seniors was a really rough batch. And we thought some of the best guys did get such great jobs. But within 10 years, that guy was the global CFO of, one of the GE companies. Somebody else had found their space. So it takes time, but allow the universe. 10 years, you will find your space. If you haven't found your space, it's not yours.
Oh,
Sorry.
thanks, Eka. So Rachna, your answer in one line, please.
So, yeah, finally, love yourself, keep loving yourself, and believe you are truly, truly worth it. And nobody can take it away from you.
Very nice.
Wonderful. A virtual hug from me to all of you. That was such a great session. Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing your
Thank you so much.